Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat video. Now today on my follow-up from my last episode where I was talking about Raiden is yet again another controversial figure that kind of turns up in this episode. Today I'll be talking about Liu Kang and what actually went wrong with him in the Mortal Kombat series. Because for the longest amount of time, Liu Kang had been held at quite a high esteem, but as installments went by, his popularity has most certainly dipped in the last few years. Now what has led to these many factors? Well, let's actually start from the very beginning, where we will talk about his origins and how it really does play into his downfall. Now Liu Kang was orphaned at a very young age and was brought up within the White Lotus Monastery, a very well known Shaolin monastery but had the reputation for bringing up many talented fighters, one of the examples being the great Kung Lao. Now with nowhere else to go, Liu Kang grew up in the monastery alongside his friend Kung Lao under the eyes of Bo Rai Cho and the Thunder God Raiden. Through their tutelage, Liu Kang became a legend in the White Lotus, surpassing many of his peers and predecessors, becoming a prodigy. And well, as we all do know, this led to Liu Kang saving his own realm on 4 different occasions. The first Mortal Kombat tournament where he defeated Goro and Shang Tsung, the second one where he defeated Shao Kahn, the third one where he fended off and defeated Shao Kahn once again, and the fourth one where he defeated Shinnok. So he's definitely earned a lot of accolades. However, it seems like everything from that point onwards has most certainly led to a slow decline of the character. You see, after the 4th Mortal Kombat game, much like MKX, they started to incorporate a new generation of characters, but by doing so they needed to take particular ones out of the picture, and of course, as to many's dismay, Liu Kang would make that cut. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it is the Mortal Kombat universe, people do die and people do get brought back. Now it wasn't so much Liu Kang's death that I believed upset a lot of people, but it was the nature of how he was handled from that point onwards. Allow me to elaborate. You see, during Deception, after Raiden was defeated and seemingly sacrificed his life, he'd be resurrected in Outworld in a dark and corrupted form, one that we all know is called Dark Raiden. Now this form of Raiden took a very dark stance on how he would actually protect his home from that point onwards, where he would do so by force and make anyone that contested his beliefs suffer. However, Dark Raiden wasn't really a coherent character. He was a subplot that was added in the series for the sake of just giving him something to do. So during this time, he would find the dead body of Liu Kang and reanimate it, starting the whole zombie Liu Kang arc. And this is what in many eyes led to the slow decline of what this character actually was. As you see, the zombie Liu Kang would become an enforcer of Raiden's will. However, instead of killing people that doubted Raiden, the zombie would go on an endless rampage, killing many innocents. So he wasn't even doing the appointed job that Raiden had given him. Now also during this time, there was the spirit of Liu Kang who did try to search for his body so he could reunite with it, despite it being a decaying sack of flesh. But you see, at that point, none of it really mattered. Not only were we coming to the end of the original timeline, but after Onaga's fall and Liu Kang's spirit resurfaced, he'd already been pushed so far out of the main story and relegated to a side character role that people just weren't interested in him anymore. Now it is very typical of that to happen when there is a new generation of players coming into the game, but the way Liu Kang was handled after he died is most certainly the best example of what I deem as bad writing. Now I do believe that by taking him out the picture it's the right idea, because you can't really have a character that powerful walking around literally fixing every single situation. The storyline would become predictable because of that. However, I believe a character is as important alive as he is dead, especially with the legacy he does leave behind, and that's most certainly one I feel was tarnished after his murder. So now let's get on to the reboot. Now I'm not going to completely act unbiased here, as some of you know my actual stand on the reboot of Liu Kang. I actually quite like the new take that he's undergone. However, there's one fundamental thing that I can't deny about this character. Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat reboot is clearly not the same Liu Kang from the original timeline. The very level-headed, disciplined monk we see from the original timeline has instead been replaced by a brash and emotional fighter, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. You see, the one thing that the new Liu Kang most certainly has over the old one is, well, character. You see, in the first few games they were limited with what they could actually do. The main story mode was relegated to arcade text. The only things we really learned about the characters is through our own interpretation of said individual. That and bits of text that appeared during the later half of the original timeline, but for the most part, we get more character out of the reboot than we ever really did in the original timeline. Now, although Liu Kang may again be dead in this reboot, at least in some way, shape and form, he's still relevant to the main plot. He's still around and he's still acknowledged, something that didn't really happen in the original timeline at all. So why does Liu Kang Kang actually appear in my What Went Wrong series, as it does seem at this segment I'm actually kind of praising him, and that's because I somewhat am. Out of all the characters to have gone through the reboot that had a rough time in the original timeline, Liu Kang is definitely one that has been handled rather well. Now, in saying that, Liu Kang isn't necessarily Liu Kang. It's a very different character to what we originally know, but at least in some way, shape and form he still remains a bit relevant to the plot. Although he may not be as integral to it, he is at least still around, and that's definitely an improvement from the original timeline. So though this might be an episode of What Went Wrong, this is also another example of a twist and a change to a character that's somewhat benefiting him in the long run. But yeah, that's kind of it for this episode, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed it. It's been slightly different from my normal format of What Went Wrong videos, but I've been wanting to tackle the more well-known characters because despite them being so iconic, the writing or world normally falters them in some way, shape and form, especially with the lesser known characters in the series. So if you have any interesting suggestions, please put them down in the comments below. But yeah, that's kind of it for this video, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and if possible, before this video wraps up, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel since YouTube's ad system is broken as hell, so by giving it a thumbs up, it helps out a ton. And if you want to go that extra step, we also have a Patreon set up, and a link for it will be down in the description below. Anyway, guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.